Hi, this is B from Sorcery Soap, and in this video we're going to make unicorns. First of all, we're going to need an extruder. You could do this without an extruder, however, this makes it a lot easier. First, we're going to make the corn, the unicorn part. So I'm going to take, I want it to be pink and orange. Doesn't have to be exactly, but that's, I'll show you how I'm going to do this. So these are my basic ones. I'm going to make these ahead of time and let them firm up a bit. So that looks like a good one. Nah, maybe two. Let's do this one. That'll be better. We have to pink and orange soap dough. We're going to load this, oops, put this in here. Okay. So I need to make the corn itself, as in una. I want them to be tiny, so that's why I did it like this. Tiny little ones. So we're going to stick that into his forehead. We'll let that be there for a second. And I could take some of this off, actually. Don't need it that big. And I cut them, here, just twist it off. These can be cut because these aren't going to be fully dried, cured, because we're going to use them today. But I want to cut them so that there's an end to it so I can poke it into his forehead. Sounds terrible. There. They don't need to be so small. There. You can use any color for his unicorn. I just happened to use these because I'd made a bunch of them. I made brooms. This is one of the ways I make brooms, broom handles. And I made brooms, and I had a bunch of this color left over, and so I just made a bunch of unicorns and let them cure. I wasn't really sure if I was going to make unicorns before I even created this little lazy unicorn that I'm going to make. And I saw those and I got the idea, oh, that looks like a unicorn horn. I think I'll make those. Making spirals in soap dough is a little bit difficult. Can be done, obviously. You've seen me make some candy canes. Takes a little bit of a delicate hand. This one has a mixture to it, so probably could just do that one. Let's see. Nope, didn't come out. Okay, great. Okay. There. Let's do this. See how that's candy cane like? This is going to be, you're learning already what it's going to take to make a candy cane. Essentially, you want to start with spirals just a tick bigger. See, I'm trying to make them too small, and that's why they're kind of blurring into each other, but that'll be fine for this situation. So if I really wanted the colors to be very distinct, what I do is I load up 2 extruders. I have 3. One is so stiff I hate to use it. And so actually I only have 2 because this one already has pink and yellow in it, and I need to load one for the main, so we're going to do that. the mane and the tail actually. Okay, so now I'm going to load up an extruder for the mane and the tail. And I was thinking a little bit of pink and purple might be interesting, even though the one in the book just says purple and lavender in it. So here, let's move these out of the way. Up like this. There. And so when you clean your extruder, one of the things you want to do is make sure you get this rubber gasket off of there. And also I think that this brass interacts with soap a bit, and if you leave your extruder packed, it'll discolor the soap. But it's an easy fix. I used to think that maybe, oh gosh, look, it's starting to split right there. I used to think that maybe there's some interaction with the soap and this brass piece, or that there was bacteria that was harboring in here and that it was affecting the soap dough. But I've come to learn that it's more than likely it's the brass that is affecting the soap dough. And all you have to do is, once you've extruded this, like pinch off that piece, because if you wrap it up, it'll discolor, and then you'll see what I'm talking about.
So here we go.
Okay, so now we're going to make the body first. So we're going to make all the white parts first, and then we'll go back and put the hooves on. So like I said in the Magic of Soap Dough book, you want to make some basic shapes, and this cone shape is a basic shape. So it's a good idea to have it in your mind's eye what you're working on, or pull the book out and look at the page. But this little lazy unicorn has a big bum. And this also is the very shape that we use to make rabbits, and we'll be making bunnies in the future with that very shape. And so I want to make his legs as soon as possible so that those cure a bit, because then it's easier to handle them. Dry, I should say dry. I keep exchanging the word cure and dry for the same meaning, and it's not exactly the same. So anyway, we're going to make his legs first, and we're going to leave those for a second. And so when I've made a lot of these, I'll put them in an extruder and kick them out with one, like it looks like this. But I can do this and just make one long sausage as well. So he's going to have his feet there. So we're going to put that like that. That'll be fine. And then about like this. And then this one, which we want to, all these have to be tapered ends too. We can pinch those off in a second. There, that's going to go like that. And so we want this guy, yes, okay. Any time you see this, it's not, as long as you've taken, done your due diligence and wiped up your area before you start. I usually spray and wipe down with bleach, not because of any other social reason, but because I always have wiped up with bleach. Try to keep it as simple as possible anyway. Okay, so these are going to be tucked under here, so we're going to pinch those tops anyway, and so is this. But before we pinch those tops, we want to make his head, and then we're going to put his hooves on. There we go. Okay, great. So now we're going to make his head. And a unicorn is a horse, so we want to sort of make him to look like a horse head. Generally speaking, we don't have to make it very specific. We could just make it has a longer nose to him, right? And they're kind of a rounded nose with kind of eye spots on the side, right? But we also want him to be cute, and he has to be approximately no bigger than this. So these are going to go up here. So we want him to lay on top of a soap. So he can't be bigger than however wide your soap is, which mine is 3 1/4 inches. So there, we're going to make him here. And okay, so, and to check to make sure that he's sort of even, flip him upside down. I can see his nose is not that even. And we're not making him anatomically correct because their noses kind of are softer. I just want him to look adorable. That's the goal. Adorableness. So okay. There. So put his nose in here. Helps me to see him a bit better. There. Put his eyes in. Remember, horses have side eyes, but a little bit facing forward. Nobody's going to say anything about that, especially if he's cute. So I pinch it off so that his head will rest, has a place to rest right here, like that. Okay. Paintbrush. Put a little bit of water and let him start to set together like that. Okay, let's make his ears. Now I have this, which I usually make ears from, but I'm going to show you how to make ears today, but I do like that a lot. I think I've shown many times how to make ears. I just pinch them like that, and then you try to get them even, like little teardrops, like that. Try to make them even as possible. Horses have a cone-like ear, so there's an inside to it. So I like to give the impression of the inside of it. Oop, there we go. They actually don't have super pointy ears, but relatively pointy. Again, this is not exactly anatomically correct, and that's the lovely thing about soap, is that we're not trying to make them necessarily. We're trying to make our own little enchanted things. So we want them to sit sort of on the side, so make them on an angle instead of direct. So that one's going to be a little bit taller, so we want this. Yeah. Okay. Let me make one more ear just in case that one doesn't turn out, because it needs to be, I think, a little thicker right there. Because I want them to dry just a tick before I put them in there. So I have a choice. There we go. Okay, so now we'll start working with the black, because You don't want to work with it too soon because you're going to have to wipe your hands off. Oh, this is charcoal, not black. Let's get black. Okay, so this is actual proper black. Don't need a lot of it. That's probably good. Maybe just a tick more here. Okay. So one of the reasons why I put the hooves on it is on him, her, whatever, is because I wanted a little bit more contrast than just an all white unicorn. So we just wanted to cover the tip. Okay. I feel this one doesn't want to stick. And this black is a super saturated black, so it will, this black soap dough, and it will bleed onto the white a bit, so that's why we try not to handle it any more than we have to. The charcoal is less saturated if that's something that's important to you. To me, a more saturated black is much more important than whether it bleeds or it doesn't bleed, because I don't want to, I rarely make all black bars of soap for that reason, because to get that really saturated black, it's just going to bleed. There isn't any two ways about it. Black oxide, I don't usually care for oxides. Black is the only one I use. I like micas because they don't bleed, and you can get pretty unique colors in micas, where oxides are more complicated to get those unique colors when mica's already pre-made that way. See, you can wipe that off. So there we go. Okay, so there we go. Of course, this is a much more time-intensive soap. But let's say you're going to make a signature soap, or you're going to make a soap for somebody's birthday or some special occasion for Christmas or something like that. I'm showing you how to make these. Once you get into the swing of it, you know, you start just assembling them pretty quickly. And maybe it takes you 3-4 hours to make 10 or 20, depends on how fast you can move. And obviously, I'm not moving very fast because I have to explain everything to you, but the situation is that you make soaps that take you, like, one of your soaps, let's, for example, take you an inordinate amount of time, but then you don't spend hardly any time on the rest of your soaps. But that one soap gets so much attention that people are interested in the rest of your soaps. So then you have to ask yourself, was the time spent on making that one soap valuable to you because you ended up selling more soap, or you made a gift that people were talking about for a long time, or just that you treated yourself and you were really tickled with your own soap. So those to me are questions to ask, not how much of an assembly line can I make. Granted, if people want to make a living at making soap, you have to be able to be time efficient with everything. But like anything, you know, when I first made these unicorns, I was not time efficient. I took a long time to figure out how to assemble them, and now here I am being much more time efficient to you. So I think some of those thoughts are, you know, is this going to help me in the long run? And how do I feel about it? I think are more valuable concepts than always about expediency. But just my thoughts on the situation, because I know people start to see how detailed this is and how much time it takes, and they get a little bit turned off by it. But I've never had anybody try to send me a soap back and say, yeah, you took too much time in that soap. And if you notice, I charge pretty much the same for all my soaps, no matter what, because I think that this one soap is going to get more attention than, and the quality of the soap is still there, and how much time I take for the soap is sort of my business. I wouldn't expect anybody else to run their things the way I run my things. I want somebody to be so tickled and so delighted when they come and they get their soap from me that they keep coming back, and they'll even they like my simple soaps and they like my complicated soaps. Okay, so right now it's a little fiddly, and we want to be pretty careful with how we're putting it together, but you can see how I'm sort of mashing this and opening this up a bit, and then I'm going to let that set. And some of this really soft soap, when it gets soft like this, because you're working it so much, it's once you put it together, assemble it, and leave it be, it'll firm right up. So I don't know. It seems that there's a non-leveling behavior that goes on my table. I get it all leveled, and then things just start rolling around. Okay. You can see how fiddly this is. That's why we kind of let things dry. So if I'm going to make a bunch of these, like I would make the body and then the heads and put them together and let them set, and then work on all the legs at that point. There. So there's him. And now I'm going to put his ears on, and I'm going to let him set for a second. So when it comes to the ears, I want them right behind the eyes. Right behind the eyes, about equal part. And you're going to know exactly how crooked your head is when you put the ears on. There, I think I like this ear better. Okay. Now, you can see how moving around he is. So I'm going to let this set. So for time purposes, I'm going to let this set for 10 minutes. I'll set a timer so you can see, and I'm going to put a little bit of water on him so that he sits here and dries together. Drying together is different than curing, and we can talk about that another day, but if you could just grab just like a corner just to smash it, and what I'm doing is delicately smashing it against, and I'm literally smashing it against the side of his head so that it becomes one piece. So then I've got a little anchor point right there. There. And he's going to have a mane and he's going to have a tail. We'll do that in a little bit, so that his ears aren't going to be so, they're not going to stick out so much that you're going to be afraid that they'll break off, hopefully. So let's leave him and we'll be right back. Okay, so I've let him set for about 10 minutes. No, actually, I've let him set for 10 minutes. And it's still soft on the other side, but we're going to keep moving forward. So we're going to put his unicorn horn on next. And I think this one looks good. The size-wise, I like, let's see, that one looks probably a little bit more distinct. So let's do that. Okay. Okay, so his ears are a little bit crooked right there. Okay, great. Well, we're going to stick him right in the middle of his forehead. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It doesn't hurt him. Okay, stick that in there. and this. See, now you know why I made a little point on the end. Okay, great. So there's his unicorn. Now you can make him a little bit smaller if you think if it's gonna be broken off. Wow, I just squished it. This is one of the reasons why I make them a day early and leave them, because when they're harder, it's easier to stick them in. But you get the idea, and that's the whole point. And I am notorious for futzing with these a little bit too much, but I like them to look pretty perfect. Still, there's going to be there. Okay, now we'll put his mane and tail on. You know what? I can see right here a fuzz that got in here. That is there. I can just smooth that out. Okay, so I'm going to put his tail right here. I'm going to put some of his mane right here. So we'll get the one we loaded up earlier. Whoops, wrong one. Purple. And I measure it there. Pinch it off. The more you handle this, the more they're going to stick together, by the way. So let's see, do we want it like that? Yeah, that looks pretty good. Stick a little water in here like that, and I'm going to bring it down on his leg just a bit and cover his hind end. Cover a unicorn hind end. Who knew there was a job? There's a job like that. So when, okay, there. So when we extract it, they kind of come out uneven. So, and then we just pull it off like that. Like you're here, but that's what I'm doing. So I want him to have a mane and a forelock. It's a big fancy word, right, for the bangs. Forelock. There. Now stick a little bit of water under here just because that's no good. All this is probably going to be waste unless you want to roll it up and use it like balls in your next soap project, which is perfectly fine as well. Okay, here we go. Now let's see. So we want to split some of this off. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Oops, I just broke one. Tuck that underneath there. I want his ear to peek out. There. So much goes into thinking about the colors and which way they go. Let's see, do we want it like this? I kind of like it like this. There. Okay. Now put a little bit of water in here to make it all stick, essentially. It'll dry together. So don't be afraid to cover his face. Kind of makes him look that much more adorable. Okay, stick a little water in here and put that down. And there you go. Oh, am I off camera? Was I doing this over here? No, okay. There we go. And there's your unicorn. And so now that you've seen the unicorn, you'll be able to build on this when we do the lazy puppy. I called him the lazy unicorn too, but some people didn't like that, and so sometimes I switch back and forth and call him the tired unicorn. I kind of like the lazy unicorn. He doesn't take offense. He knows that's his nature. He's just pooped. He just gave up. He says, I'm done for the day. That's it. I oftentimes find myself in that very same position on the floor. Done for the day. So the tired puppy that we'll make, which is also in the book, that will be based on this same idea. So now that you've made this, and it seems like there's a lot of little working parts to it, but once you get used to it, and the upshot to the tired puppy is that we make the paws, but we don't put the black on the ends of his feet. So there you go. So I hope this is helpful. Leave your comments below and let's have a conversation about it if you have any questions. And the more videos that I put up, the greater chance we have, and you watching them, the greater chance we have of creating a unique soap for your signature line, which is what I hope to achieve with this Supreme Soap Witch tier. So, all right, I hope your day's great. Thanks.